Yeah, it's one heart, one shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. In the love with the...
And we're live. What's up, y'all? How you guys doing? Hope you're having an absolutely amazing evening, and that you've been having a phenomenal start to your new year. For those of y'all that have not followed Pre-PT Grind for a long time, welcome. Welcome to our platform. My name is 𝙄𝙧𝙚-𝙂𝗶𝗴𝗹. I'm a physical therapist, one of the co-founders, PT school acceptance coach, all that other stuff. But more importantly, we're here to help you get into PT school without having to waste a lot of time and money. And what you're tuning into right now is what has become my favorite series that we do. And it's our Pre-PT Inspire series. And basically what it is we bring in students that are part of our coaching program, the Accepted System, who have gotten accepted into PT school to come on here and share their story, the good and the bad, because for a lot of you that are still trying to get into PT school, belief is such a major thing that we all need. And it's very easy to just think, oh, it's just all the students with 4.0s. It's just all the students that have everything perfect that have a shot at getting into PT school. And that's just not the case. And so tonight, this is episode 42, Sarina. It's crazy. So this is episode 42. We have obviously 41 episodes that you may have missed. So go back and listen to them and then listen to tonight's. And then, of course, we have many more coming. But I'm excited for tonight. Sarina, how are you feeling?
I'm excited. We have a lot to say, so let's get started.
Let's get started. I love it. All right, so let's start from the beginning before we get into the part that people like to hear, which is the struggles, like what you went through, the hard stuff. Tell us what led you to choose physical therapy? Why physical therapy to begin with?
Yeah, I love this question because at first I felt like I wasn't really fit to say why I wanted to do PT. I felt like it was never a good enough answer. But it's funny, I actually started undergrad wanting to pursue anesthesiology. And this is clearly like totally opposite, not doing that at all. So once I was able to actually get an internship in high school where I was able to shadow like multiple health professions in the hospital, private practices. Physical therapy was one of them, and it always stood out to me. So I don't know why I actually entered undergrad with the mind of wanting to do anesthesiology, but the main reason why I actually chose PT was because of the interaction with your patients, building those relationships. And of course, it's not all about the relationships, but being that integral part of someone's recovery process for me is like, I think that's amazing. And aside from the fact of research showing that movement is practically medicine, and how opioids don't even, aren't even as effective as physical therapy or movement itself. So that's the main reason I chose PT.
I love it. PT is a cool profession, y'all. For those of y'all that, because I know some of our followers are still deciding. They're like, I'm not sure. I think PT sounds interesting, and they're kind of looking into it. Yo, PT is amazing. For those of y'all that have fallen in love with it, it does some beautiful things, and you just laid them out. And that was a very strong why. Let's go into the part that everyone really enjoys listening to, because it's the tough parts, right? For you, obviously, the reason why you're on this live stream is because you already got into PT school, right? So the end is good. But for you, what were your biggest obstacles and struggles as a pre-PT that really just kind of made you feel like, man, is it as possible as others are making it sound like it is? Like, what were those obstacles for you?
Yeah. One was that I felt like I started too late. I felt like I should have been doing what I needed to be doing like years ago when I started undergrad. I felt very not only misinformed, but underinformed. I felt like I just was kind of left in the dark, as you guys say. And so I didn't have, strong relationships with my professors. I didn't have many observation hours. And of course, as all of us are going through, a pandemic right now, getting those observation hours was a struggle. And I think, the biggest problem within myself, of course, was just my confidence was pretty low because I wasn't, a 4.0 student. I felt like I needed to have that 4.0, just as you mentioned. And I just didn't know the requirements. I was completely lost. That was the biggest thing.
So for those of y'all that are tuning in, this is I've actually never asked that question, and someone told me, "Yep, everything was perfect. I had no problems." Right. And the reason why this is important to hear, guys, is because when we're each facing like struggles as pre-PTs, like when we're stuck, many times we feel like we're the only ones going through it, right? Like many times we feel like we're the only ones doubting that our GPA won't be high enough. Like Sarina probably had times. I'm pretty sure, Sarina, you had times where you're like, man, am I the only one that's like,
Yeah.
freaking out about the fact that I don't have, this perfect score and, this perfect GPA, this standing that's been basically, set up as the standard for being a good, solid PT school applicant. Like you probably felt alone at times, right?
Honestly,
All the time.
where I found free PT grind, I felt alone. And that was another thing was like the GRE. I didn't even know where to start with that. And when it came time, of course, no confidence there. So it was a huge domino effect for sure. Everything led to another. And it was just a big, circuit. It was like, well, I can't get my way out. So I need to do something about this.
Well, transition into my next question. What led you to, because obviously you worked with us, you joined the Accepted System coaching program. What led you to look for some like guidance, like non-traditional guidance outside of the box? Like what led you to basically like come to us?
Yeah. So I remember doing my research when I finally figured out that I needed guidance. Of course, you all want to, try to do it on your own, or you think maybe research will be enough of your own research. And so, of course, I went through that, phase. And then I realized I was like, there's just a lot that I need to know that I know I don't know. And it got to a point where I didn't even know what questions to ask people. Sometimes I didn't know to ask because I felt like I was alone. No one is in the same situation. And of course, the advisors at school, I actually had never talked to a pre-PT advisor because I had heard the bad things that they said to other students. And so I was saving myself like that small heartache and like, the whole fear that I already had. So I finally was like, okay, I need some guidance. I need some help with something, with everything. And so I did my research, found you guys on YouTube. I saw a lot of stories that sounded like mine. In fact, I was on the other side of this. I was watching these interviews. Like, I remember all of that. And when I realized, I was like, okay, well, if, they say they can help me with this, this, and that, I definitely want to take that step forward to invest in myself. But yeah, I knew that this is going to help me. It's a very strong decision.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And for those of y'all that are listening, I'm going to add this. I actually mentioned this this past weekend. We had a master class on Sunday. And I said that there's two types of guidance, guys. Like we all need help. We all get guidance from somebody, whether it's our advisor, whether it's whoever. And I think this lens is going to help you guys out a lot. Always there's only two types. The first kind is closed guidance. And closed guidance basically means that at some point there's a dead end, right? At some point, my GPA is going to be too low. At some point, I'm going to be too old. At some point, my stats are going to like basically there's going to come a point where, man, if I get to that level, if I get to that point where I'm just stuck, then that's the point where I should quit and find a different path. That's closed guidance. And unfortunately, that's what we get a lot from our advisors at school, right? And so then there's open guidance, right? And that's what we believe in, right? Open guidance suggests that there's always a next step. For those of y'all that are live right now, can y'all put next step inside of the comments? Because I think if you guys can understand that, then what happens is now, regardless of what situation you're in currently, you're able to say, whoa, okay, so I know I'm stressing, with my GPA. I know I'm stressing with, like my GRE struggles. I know I'm stressing with all these different things, but wow, if there's it, if there's a philosophy that basically says that there's always a next step, then your question is, oh, so who has it? How do I figure it out, right? And now there's always hope. There's always something to work towards. And so that was the same thing for you, Sarina. This is like that closed guidance is what you were avoiding, right? Like those advisors where you're like, oh, I see what they're telling other students. Like none of that, right? And so for those y'all listening, that's why we even do these. Like these live streams are not just for fun. I love doing it. Like if I did these interviews just for me, I love getting inspired by these students that have been part of our coaching program. I love listening to Sarina. I'm especially looking forward to the last question I have tonight. I'm looking forward to her answer for that. So I could do this for me, but more importantly, we're doing this for you to get y'all to understand that regardless of where you're at, you can get into physical therapy school. Like regardless of what y'all are feeling, you can get into physical therapy school. It's just a matter of what is my next step? Who has it? And am I willing to follow it? So I love the fact that you said that. Next question is, how specifically did the accepted system help you deal with a lot of the things that you were struggling with?
Yes. So it's so funny. Every time I think of this, I'm like, I owe everything to Justice in Case. But I know you guys all the time always say like, no, you did this. But literally all my problems. So my biggest problem was being lost, not knowing where to start. I needed the guidance. So you guys gave that to me. The accepted system community itself. Literally everyone helps everyone in this community. It's a no judgment zone for sure. Because you realize that everyone is technically, I guess you could say, in the same boat. We're all trying to get into PT school, but everyone has a different situation and journey on how to get there. And of course, it's a difficult process and journey, but I was able to gain the confidence. But that was because I gained all of the knowledge I needed on the application process itself. Because literally, I mean, we all know PT CAS is a beast. So if you can master PT CAS, I mean, you should be able to go through the application process confidently, knowing exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it. So that was the biggest thing for me. Another thing, of course, as I mentioned before, observation hours were hard to get during the pandemic. And as I said before, I felt like I started too late. So I felt like this was my time. I needed to do everything I needed right now. So of course, as everyone knows, we have the virtual observation hours, which is a great opportunity right now. Especially, it's a different experience, different than the traditional, shadowing experience. And then of course, the internship program that I went through the accepted system, which I'm still doing right now, is amazing because you get to connect with all other pre-PTs, SPTs, and literally, I mean, it's not like you're doing like PT stuff every day, but you learn through the process and you learn like the realm of PT, and it's not just one thing. It's not just going to the clinic to prescribe exercise. Like it's literally like you can do anything. But yeah, I would definitely say the confidence and the experience is definitely what you guys helped me with for sure.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, you did put in the work though, but I absolutely love that. And for those of y'all that feel stuck right now, and you're like, man, like, what did Sarina do differently? Like, how does she navigate through this whole thing? Go to acceptancenavigator.com. Casey and I actually did a 4-part video series on there. We actually did it like probably like a year and a half ago now, because it was before COVID. But we lay it out for you there. And right now, if you're like, hey, I have some time tonight, I got 40 minutes tonight that I could sit down and actually just learn how to rethink everything that I'm doing, go watch it. Go to acceptancenavigator.com. It's a free series. Go watch it. We do give you the option afterwards to get on a call with us and maybe even work with us. But I just want you to go watch that series so you can be like, whoa, that's why Sarina and all these other students really navigated through their application process differently so that they could become the applicants they are today and really the PT students that they are today. So go there if you need it, and you won't be disappointed. But Sarina, tell us about the day that you got accepted into PT school. I want the students to kind of, live a little bit through your experience. What was that like? How'd you find out? Who'd you tell first? What were your first thoughts? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I feel like it happened at the perfect time. Of course, it was a waiting game. We all know how that goes. I'm like, am I going to be put on the wait list? When am I going to hear back after the interview? Well, first, the interview email, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a chance. But yeah, when I got my PT school acceptance letter, I was with my best friend at the time, my best friend and my boyfriend at the time, two people, part of my, support system. So it was the perfect time. And I remember actually, it's December 19th when I told my best friend, she was telling me a story, and I was on my phone and the email came up and I was like, oh my God, I think I just got accepted into PT school. And like, I just started crying because I was like, okay, this is very surreal to me. Not only because it just happened, but this is my first time going through it. So I just didn't know if what I did was right, although I felt confident. And so it was just a big, I don't even know how to explain it, like the feeling. I mean, I still go around like today, like thinking about, oh my God, like I got accepted to PT school. Like that's crazy. But I can't even, I never knew or thought I would feel the feeling of being accepted. Like it just seemed like it was so far away. And the day came and literally I won't forget the day. That's the thing, is I won't forget it.
Man. For those of y'all live right now, can y'all show Sarina some love? Like heart it up, because that day is unreal. And so even hearing how you described it, just the emotions of, like finding out, like wait, I think
Yeah.
just like that overwhelm all at once, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
Man, so proud of you. Well deserved. Super well deserved. Now looking back, because I asked you this, I think I asked you this like right before we went live. I was like, hey, like a year ago, would you see yourself being in this position right now? And you said no. Like you're like, like I did not see this coming. So if you were to go back and talk to Sarina in 2020, January 19th, 2020, think back to where your headspace was a year ago. What would you tell yourself now, knowing that you are a PT student, like you've been accepted into PT school, knowing that that dream has become a reality? Like, what would you say to her? Like, to be like, hey, girl, get it together. Like, what would you say to her to pour life into her now that you know that this is real? Like, this is not some hope or some dream. Tell us that. The reason why I asked this question is because somebody listening right now is that version of you right now. Like they're in that space that you were in last year or a year ago or 2 years ago. And so what would you say to her? Like, what's your advice? Like, that's what I want to wrap up with.
Yeah. I think about this often too. Because if I think back and like, if I would have just known to not stress out over the dumbest things, I would just save myself a lot of stress. But I have a few quotes, of course, that help keep me going, that make me, remember how I felt back then, and that I actually wish I knew back then. And one of them is, my best friend actually told me this one, and it's just, if you're working, it's working. Meaning, of course, if you're working towards your goal, you're eventually going to get to your goal. And of course, everyone has different timeline. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're working, it's working. And so that was the biggest motivator for me, because every time I was studying for the GRE, or every time I would try to, start my essays for, getting into PT school and PT cast, like I would literally think, okay, if I just do this 30 minutes right now, like if I'm working, it's working. Like all I need to do is just do it. And the other one is all along, I can't remember it exactly. It says, if all along you knew that you were blooming or something like that. I think it's, one day you will look back and see that all along you're blooming. Sorry, it's actually my lock screen right now. That's why I'm looking down. Okay, so because, if you think back, like, each day what you're doing will affect you tomorrow and 3 years from now and 5 years from now. that literally you're growing every day. And so of course you're going to endure this tough process of just applying to PT school, which is, you know, of course the sad part is like, this is just the beginning. But yeah, if you want to reach those goals, then you will. So you just have to remember that if you're working, it's working. That's one of my favorite quotes. So
I don't even know what to add to that. I have like, man, there's so much belief behind that. If you're working, it's working. I think it's that certainty that the result you desire. And for those of you that are listening to this right now, you're trying to become a physical therapist, right? And I think for many of us, there's just low points where it just feels so impossible. It feels like, you know, I think you called it a distant thing, right? Like when you got accepted, you're like, it just felt so distant. Didn't feel like it was going to be like that soon, right? And so I think for a lot of us, when we're doubting ourselves, when we feel like we're not good enough, when we feel like we're not smart enough, when we feel like our stats are not, strong enough, like just understand that your job is to continue showing up. Your job is to continue asking, okay, I'm stuck here. Who can help me get unstuck, right? If that person is a friend, go to them. If that person is a mentor, go to them. If like whoever that is, like, okay, and then just keep working and believe that, like you said, Sarina, if you're working, it's working, right? And I think it's a nice wake-up call too, because I think sometimes when we get so anxious about the process, some of us stop working.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And that's actually, I'm so sorry, just as I would.
No, girl, you better go. Just talk.
Because it reminds me, I mean, the GRE for me was like stressful, guys. Like when I say, I mean, honestly, not for me, for everyone. We all know this is a stressful thing to go through. I'm so sorry. But I remember I would try to make a to-do list of what I needed to do. And so when I remember, if I'm working, it's working, I would be like, I don't know if I can get everything done on this to-do list today or by this time. I would love to have free time or whatever. But I would just remember, I'm just going to go down, take one at a time. If I don't finish it today, get to it the next day, but get to it. Like, you can put it on to the next day, but as long as you get to it, I mean, if you're working, it's working. So do what you got to do.
Boom. That was amazing. This interview was so good. For those of y'all that just got here at the end, go watch this whole thing again. This is also going to be a podcast episode, so y'all will get it soon and all that stuff. But Sarina, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for pouring life into all the students that are listening to this that just want to be where you're at. They're like, I just want to be Sarina right now. I want to be in PT school. I want to get accepted. I want to be done with this whole thing. But everything you said today was just was everything I would need to hear, in that position. And so for those of y'all listening, keep fighting, keep going. Like, do not pull the plug. If this is what you want, go get it and make 2021 yours. And don't let your fears, hold you back from taking action, right? I think sometimes we because of the anxiety and whatnot, we stop believing, and so we stop doing, right? And then when we stop doing, well, the thing that we were afraid would happen happens. So go ahead, keep working, keep grinding, go get yours, go get your doctorate degree. Much love. And if you need help, we got you. Go to acceptancenavigator.com. We'll get you started tonight. Let's go. Have a blessed one. Sarina, thank you so much. Anything else you want to wrap up with before we wrap it up?
No, you guys, just remember, if you're working, it's working. I'm sorry. That's the biggest quote of today, the year, and your life. So
like beautiful quote. I'm gonna actually like frame that somewhere. I might just make it a screensaver for myself as well, because that's a reminder to me too. It's with anything. If you're working, if you're putting in the work, it's working. It's working. And so keep going, guys. Have an amazing rest of your evening. Much love. See you guys on the next episode. We will be doing this again next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Block it off in your calendar. We'll see you then. Much love. Bye, guys.